Brought to you by Sheehan's Rustproofing. The Chiefs have just come out on the ice for a warm-up period. They're about to try for their 5th consecutive win. They're getting a good round of applause from their own booster club, who have traveled all the way from Charlestown to be here in Peterborough tonight.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home, make your next move a power play with Mike Burgoyne of Real Brokerage Realty. First responders, veterans, doctors, nurses, teachers, and yes, Let's Go Blues Radio listeners get special rates. Visit strikewithmike.com or email him at mike@strikewithmike.com and score big today.
Have you subscribed to the LGB Minute podcast yet? It's a 5-minute weekly St. Louis Blues podcast hosted by Jeff Ponder that is released multiple times a week to fill the gap between Let's Go Blues Radio episodes. Subscribe today.
So awesome, so handsome, so smart, you'll agree. Kurt, Jeff, and Bill are on TV. It's radio on TV. Oh yeah, it's radio on TV.
From St. Louis, I am Jeff Ponder, and I'm joined by the man who is never too far away, Mr. Bill Day. Kurt Price is still facing allegations. We're bringing you the often imitated, never duplicated. This is a distraction. This is a fire in a barrel. This is a distraction in a fire in a barrel. Any questions? The original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio. This is the 19th episode of season 15 and the 547th episode of all time. It's Thursday, February 5th, and we're coming to you live. Tonight, we discuss the upcoming Olympic Games, the Blues finally making a trade, a big-time NHL prospect in some hot water, all that and more on this patriotic episode of Let's Go Blues Radio. So I say patriotic, Bill. Of course, we are both American. I'm wearing my USA hat, but I have to admit, I am also wearing the Team Canada jersey because this has, I think, become my favorite jersey. Plus, it's hard to root against Team Canada at this point.
Yeah. I, too, am wearing a Team Canada jersey.
Yes. There we go. Let's get the full look. Stand up. Let's see it.
There it is. Thank you to Winning Unlimited for hooking a brother up. I got my Tragically Hip meets the PWHL.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely love this hoodie. Yeah, huge fan of the hip. Canada's band, rest in peace Gord Downey, but yeah, absolutely love that they are doing a collab with the PWHL, and yeah, super excited to get this and rep it. So,
and that came from our friend, like he actually ordered by our friend Adam Gold, correct?
He was behind sending it to me and says I owe him no monies. So
he's a hell of a guy.
Yeah. So we're definitely repping the PWHL here tonight. Had I had time, I would have replaced the Blue Save of the Week with something from the PWHL, but too many highlights to go through and not enough time in my life right now.
Yes, that reminds me of my friends are all big Huey Lewis and the News fans. And apparently one time, all four of my friends, all were like sitting in like the third row of some amphitheater they were performing at back in like the early 2000s. And they all said, all right, everybody, like, hey, let's all yell for them to play our favorite song. 1, 2, 3. And they all four yelled different songs they hadn't played yet. I think my one friend thought they were all going to say Back in Time. And apparently Huey Lewis said when they all did that, he just goes, man, even our crowd can't agree. What did he say? So many hits, so little time. And I just love hearing a band say that because they know, like, yeah, we've killed it in our careers. So I'm sure Tragically Hip probably feels the same north of the border.
Yeah. I regret I had possibly one opportunity to see them they played Chicago in sometime between 2010 and 2015 with Blue Rodeo, and we'd just made a Chicago trip right before we heard that. And I couldn't convince Julie to go see him, and unfortunately, we lost Gord a few years later, so opportunity gone. But still, absolutely love the music, it's bittersweet. But like I mentioned briefly last week, on my way to games, I always have the hip on. That's what's on when I'm pulling into the parking lot.
So I'm not gonna lie to you, and this is gonna be very sacrilegious, and I'm sorry to say it. I am not a hip fan.
Oh my goodness.
I've tried so many times to get into them. They're just not made for me. I will say there are bands out there. I'm not going to get into any debates, and I think you'd agree with a lot of my takes on certain American and British bands that I don't like. But like, there are some bands I hear that I'm like, how are they famous? How are they big? How do people listen to this and say this is good music? I will say I listen to the Tragically Hip, and I'm like, I get why people like them. They're just not for me. That's all it is. So I'm not at all trashing them by any means. They're just not made for me.
Yeah, well, they're one of the bands I don't think is necessarily an acquired taste, but it helps if like I listened to them. They actually got some radio play in St. Louis on the Point in 93, 94, which is when I was biggest into listening to the radio. Don't listen so much anymore. But at that point, the Point was still new. They were all over the place figuring out what they were doing, and Fully Completely had come out, and they were playing that heavy rotation. Probably my favorite hip song is Courage for Hugh McLennan, and that even got radio play in St. Louis. So that's probably why it's my favorite song. That, and it's got some really great literary quotes in it. So
tell you what, send me at some point in the next week.
I'll
send
make
me
you a
your top.
playlist.
Send me at least like a top 5, and I will listen to the top 5 and see if there's just maybe I just haven't heard the right songs.
You haven't? Yeah, I could do a top 5 hip hockey track, and you'd be like, okay, I get it now.
All right, let's do that.
Do you have a tape player? Because I'll make you a literal fucking mixtape.
Let me think. I might. I don't think so. I don't think I have a tape player anymore. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to look around. I might have something in my basement here. But either way, you could just send me the songs like a normal human being, Bill, and I will listen to them.
But I have all this music equipment that I wouldn't use. No, that's fine. I will get you a list.
Okay, one quick question, and while we're on music, and this is just one of those bands, Fish. Have you ever been into Fish?
No. Like, as jam bands go, like, I can appreciate it, but I've seen I've never seen Fish in concert. My favorite thing Fish ever did, there was a video early, like before YouTube. There was a video that made it out onto the early internet of them. It might have actually just been a sound clip from one of their sound checks, and they did a mashup where they did Bop by Hanson as if it were sung by James Brown. And
okay, that sounds awesome.
It's awesome. I have it on MP3 somewhere. But yeah, never could get into them. There were a lot of guys, Providence being, up in New England. There were a lot of Fish fans when I went to school there, but I couldn't get into them. And,
so I've got a group of friends when I was in my early 20s and hanging out with stoners every single weekend. It was always, we'd go to my buddy's cabin. We'd have these blowout parties, and they would just rock Fish the entire time. And I just got to a point where I'm like, all these people love fish. I'm not going to say anything, but it was like 6-7 weekends in a row. All I heard was fish. And I finally just was like, why does everyone like this band so much? And literally, I mean, it was like a scene out of a movie. We were sitting inside. My buddy turns off his CD player. Yes, I said CD player. And just was like, did everybody hear what Jeff Ponder just said? And I was berated for a good 2 hours for not being a fish fan. So just not my thing, not my thing. And I'll admit that is one that I do hear. And I'm sorry to all the fish fans out there. I do hear them. I'm like, how? I don't understand this band.
I think it's one of those things like jam bands. You get into them if you've seen them live, and really helps if you're super high when you see them. And that's how the Grateful
I'm sure
Dead.
That's part of it.
It was that was a big part of their persona. They're like the one jam band, the godfather of jam bands.
Yep.
And I've seen versions of the Dead a couple times in concert, and there are Dead songs that I love, but I can't do more than an hour at a time.
Yeah.
So
Ken Morris,
I think it's the same way with fish.
Ken Morris says Bill must still have vinyl LPs. First of all, even without asking you, I know you do. And right, yeah. So let me he nods his heads. Yes. And I will say I think that I was once asked this question, and I'd love to ask you this question right now, and I think I know the answer. So if you were doing a podcast that wasn't about the blues or about hockey at all, would it be about music?
More than likely, yes.
Yeah. That would be my thought.
So the Billy Blue Note in my my tag is multiple layered, right? It's multiple connotations. So I have a small but respectable collection of Blue Note jazz vinyl. And I'm I love jazz, got into jazz in college, but very specific, like I'm the 50s hard bop jazz through the early part of funk fusion. But that's my sweet spot, and I have a very decent collection of Blue Note stuff in there. So it works for me both ways, and I've thought about if I ever did that the Beard After Dark episode of Let's Go Blues Radio, it would involve that. So
yes, there you go. We've got our chat has been going crazy since way before the show started. Everyone talking about blues stuff right now. And Rob Gelb over in the chat in YouTube says, hockey, remember?
No.
Rob, are you new to the show? Because this is what we do.
We don't start talking hockey until 11:45.
Yeah. yeah. We'll talk about hockey for a good 10 minutes and then we close up the show. So that's how this show goes. I think all the listeners here will agree with that. No, come on. Do we really want to talk about the Blues right now? Come on, guys. Really?
I'm doing whatever I can not to.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I literally let out a big sigh before you came on here and joined me, Bill. I was like, I really have to talk about the Blues for the next hour and a half. But we're going to do it. We're going to power through it because we love our audience. That's why. All right, Bill, let's get into it. So first of all, let's get into hockey. Sorry, Rob Gelb. Yes, Ken Morris. Perfect transition, sir. He says there is still some beer talk coming. Yes, official beers of episode number 547. Remember, you can follow each of us on the Untapped app. Bill is at Billy Blue Note 33. I am at JPonner94. We can keep this short if we need to. I have not had this on the show in a long time, but I'm doing it tonight. So we're doing a little Schnickelfritz tonight.
That's what we call our dog Fritz.
There you go.
Schnickel Fritz.
Yep, yeah. I'm a big Schnickelfritz fan. It's one of the more kind of sweet beers. It's Bavarian style Weiss beer. It does have. I always forget if it has it on here. The unmistakable characteristics of this Bavarian style Weiss beer are achieved with a yeast that creates a decidedly fruity and phenolic beer. You may also note clove and banana-like aromas and flavors as you pour and enjoy this beer in a traditional tall wheat beer glass. Prost. Yes, that's a great description. If you've never had Snickle Fritz, it is very much sweet and a fruity taste. And normally I do not like in beers, but Schnickel Fritz is a special variety.
Schnickel Fritz and Fat Elvis, right?
Yes, 100%.
That's where the banana is.
Mm-hmm.
I almost went with Fat Elvis tonight, but I decided not to. Going with just something a little smaller. Only gonna do one tonight. I think I've had this on the show before, but it's one of my favorite beer names of all time. Old Chub Scotch Ale from Oscar Blues, and they're Denver, right? Baked Beaver.
I think so. That sounds right.
Is he in the chat?
I haven't seen Baked Beaver in there.
So yeah, Old Chub, Scotch Ale. This time of year, Scotch Ale's good to go for me. Super malty. Yeah, great for these crazy long winter nights.
Yep, agree. Well, let's get into that hockey talk everyone's craving. So the Blues did make their first trade before the NHL trade deadline. That will be Nick Bjugstad on his way out. He was traded to the New Jersey Devils yesterday for Thomas Bordeleau and a conditional 4th-round pick. For those of you, a lot of people were kind of asking online, what's that condition? I was able to find it thanks to our friends over at Puckpedia. The condition will be resolved at the end of the season and will be the pick that is the lowest of 3 4th-rounders currently owned by the Devils in 2026. They have acquired the Dallas Stars and Winnipeg Jets picks via other trades. So that likely will be the Dallas Stars pick. So wherever the Blues pick in this, the pick they acquired is probably going to be the Dallas Stars pick. So where they pick in the 4th round, the Blues will have that one because I don't think Winnipeg and New Jersey are catching Dallas anytime soon. So that will be the condition. Bordeleau has already reported to the Springfield Thunderbirds of the AHL. So we will see what he does, but the first domino has fallen, Bill.
Yeah, odd that we're trading with another non-playoff team. But Bukestad has another year on his contract, and I think he'll do well to help offset the loss of Palat a little cheaper for the Devils next year. That was a big cap clearing move for them last week. So it's just one of those oddities that 2 non-playoff teams, are in the mix before the deadline. So a lot of other teams are going to wait to take on salaries that are just going to be sitting idle for 3 weeks until after the deadline or after the Olympic break. Thomas Bordeleau, he's son of former Montreal Canadian Sebastian Bordeleau, who I always confuse with Stéphane Lebeau. Stéphane Lebeau is one of my favorite Canadians on the 93 team. Sebastian Bordeleau came along, played with the Canadians 95 to 2000. I think was expansion drafted by the Predators and was playing for the Houston Aeros when Thomas was born. So
also not to be confused with the Hot Springs Bordello, which was a great TV show on Cinemax back in the early 2000s.
I'm familiar with that show, unfortunately.
Yes, we all are. Sebastian Bordeleau, was he not Blues property for a short period too?
Very short period. He was, I think, claimed and played in Worcester.
Yes, you're right. Worcester, 2 games, 2000, 2001. Yep, there you go. The Worcester. I have a Worcester Ice Cats jersey. I don't know if you knew that. Johnny Pole on the back. So,
oh my goodness.
Yep, I was a big Johnny Pole fan. I remember he came up and played just a cup of coffee with the Blues, and for some reason, as a young kid, I was very impressed, and I thought this kid's got an NHL future. He did not, but hey, he was a really good Ice Cat, so not a bad pick. I wore that jersey. It was probably 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. to a minor league game up in Nebraska. And I had a guy come up and compliment me and said, I was a big fan of his. I was a big Ice Cats fan. And I'm like, well, good. Thank you for at least admitting that my pick of a jersey as a kid was not a bad idea. But yeah, so Bordelot, for those that may not know about his background, 35 games for the AHL's Utica Comets this season, 6 assists and 8 points. Overall, he is from Houston. Played in 196 career AHL regular season games, has 49 goals and 115 points. He's played in 44 career NHL regular season appearances with the San Jose Sharks and has 6 goals and 18 points. He was drafted by the Sharks in the second round at number 38 of the 2020 NHL entry draft. Somebody asked in the chat, and my gosh, you guys are all over the place in here. Somebody asked about what did we get a second round pick too? You're probably thinking that Bordelot is a former second round pick, so that's probably where that popped in your head.
Yeah, interesting talk in there about Montreal as a potential trade partner for Thomas. I don't think that ever happens. It would, well, for one, Mark Bergevin is no longer the GM of the Montreal Canadiens, or else it
I
could
don't know
happen.
why you just saying his name makes me want to laugh.
Oh my God. Wrecked a perfectly good team because of his ego. Couldn't have a guy with a bigger ego in his roster. So bye-bye PK. But yeah, so the Blues, like, what's coming back? I mean, they already made their I'm talking with somebody in the office today, and it's like, at this point, Robert Thomas gets traded, and he's going to be the best second line center in the NHL, right? But here he's going to be number one. Everywhere else, he's going to be number two. Montreal has already got their center depth done. The acquisition of Danault, I think, took them out of the center market. For them to make a trade for Thomas, like, just doesn't feel realistic. The coming back the other way, what are they going to give us? Koski, Demidov? It's not going to happen. And defenseman wise, I don't think there's anybody in there. If there's one trade that we could do with Montreal to make both my Montreal and Blues fan happiness, would be Tyler Tucker for Arber Xhekaj, because I think they go to a different city, and maybe Xhekaj is good here, but Tucker goes there and is gone immediately.
100%. I've said that. I think I said that last week. The minute Tucker goes and plays for another NHL team, they will realize what they have in him, and they will get rid of him.
Yeah.
But he's a surefire starting defenseman here in St. Louis.
Yeah. And the other thing, the immediate impact of the Bukestad trade last night was we played 7 defensemen. So we got to see Kessel, and I didn't think he looked bad, but when I realized that, like, oh wait, I've heard 7 defensemen's name in this game already, I'm like, and a part of it too is the dad's trip. They try to get everybody in during the dad's trip, which I totally respect. I think that's a really good idea, but they scratched, what was it, Berggren and Joseph, and I'm like, scratch Tucker. Tucker is always your scratch. Like, that's what drives me crazy. If you need to roll 7 defensemen because you made a Bukestad trade, okay, but they didn't need to. They chose to scratch Berggren, who I actually thought played really well against Nashville, so I was very annoyed by that. And then Joseph, and I'm like, because you have to play Tyler Tucker. Makes zero sense to me. I will never understand it. That's a whole other discussion. Yeah, this love affair with Tyler Tucker and this coaching staff is just beyond me.
They're showing their ass. I'll just say that. That's the biggest thing that I'm noticing right now. We'll talk more about trades and trade deadline coming up and all that, as well as the Olympics coming up. We're going to take a quick break here, though, and listen to our great sponsors. Bill, stay tuned for the commercial because there might be a surprise in there for everybody. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
What are you doing? Have you not subscribed to the Let's Go Blues Minute yet? Do it wherever you get podcasts. It provides a daily look into the St. Louis Blues, filling the gap between Let's Go Blues radio shows. Go to Spotify, go to Apple Podcasts, go to Friendster. I don't care. Just subscribe and get fresh blues content daily. Do it. Like now.
Every hockey team needs that clutch player who knows when to pass, when to shoot, and when to take charge. In real estate, that superstar is Mike Burgoyne of Real Brokerage Realty. Whether you're buying your first home or selling your current one, Mike skates circles around the competition with his knowledge, hustle, and down-to-earth approach. And here's the real zone ability. If you're a first responder, veteran, doctor, nurse, teacher, or even just a loyal Let's Go Blues radio listener, you'll score special rates when you work with Mike. Got questions? Fire them at him. He'll answer quicker than Bill Day's glove hand. Obstacles in your way? He'll plow through them harder than I would in a goal mouth scramble. And when it comes time to close, he'll put it in the back of the net faster than a Kurt Price shot from the slot. So don't just settle for an ordinary realtor. Get the MVP on your side. Visit strikewithmike.com or email him at mike@strikewithmike.com today. Mike Burgoyne, the real estate teammate you can always count on. Hey, it's Jeff. Do you like me? Okay, even if you don't, it's okay. It's okay. There's a new show coming out. Check it out. It's called The Pondcast, Conversations That Go Nowhere. We are going to do our random generator. We are going to talk a random topic. All right, here we go. You ready?
You know, my mom and my dad wrote my biological code when they pooped me out of my mom's butt when I was a baby.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did Al Gore create weather? I mean, that's possible.
I think he invented the internet, right?
He did. This podcast made possible by Al Gore. Weather conspiracies. Failing a driving test. Elevators. Forgetting why you walked into a room.
I don't know if you're Costco people or Sam's Club people, or if you're clubbers. I don't know if you go clubbing.
We go.
You go clubbing.
Cam, this whole show has actually just been a ploy. I've got some news I need to share with you.
You're my father from the future, aren't you?
Yes. My name is Dameron, actually.
And now, back to Let's Go Blues Radio, the longest running St. Louis Blues podcast with Price, Ponder, and Day.
What happened? Why are we flipped?
Because I took over.
Oh, apparently. Well, I hope you all don't mind my little shameless plug there in the commercial break.
No. Yeah, looking forward to when that comes out, and yeah, I think we're gonna have to start, not just like, I'll come on at some point, but I think we got to get some of our loyal listeners in on this.
Trust me, that is going to happen. I am planning on. I've got some really cool people I've zeroed in on that are our listeners that I will definitely have on because there's some characters I know for sure that would love to just come on and talk about a random topic with me. So that will be the case. But still no release date on that yet. Still working on it, but I'm very excited to get the Pondcast Conversations That Go Nowhere out, hopefully in the next month, maybe month and a half, something like that. But let's get back into Blues talk. So anyway, actually real quick, I wanted to make one last point on Bukestad, and I forgot. The trade there, I think it was twofold. I think it was this team is tanking, and there's no point in keeping this guy on, and kind of shedding that salary is clearly a good thing, I think, for this organization at this point. But I also think it's clearing way for Otto Stenberg. When all these injuries come back, that was the name you and I picked out. We said when the whole team's healthy, you can't send Stenberg down unless you absolutely have to. Who do you get rid of to make room for Stenberg? And we both said Nick Bukestad. Nothing against him. I actually really liked his short tenure here in St. Louis. I I think he had some big goals. He played really well down the stretch when he was healthy, but you do have to make room for Stenberg. He is an NHL player at this point, and they had to unload one of those contracts. And so I do think it was not just let's trade him because New Jersey wants him and we can unload that salary. And I think it was also let's make sure we have room for Stenberg when our injured players come back.
Yeah, and I think at the outset of the season, you had to sign somebody to offset the loss of Foxa. Of course, they already had Sonny in the mix, who was more than likely going to be that fourth line center. But we all know he's very injury prone, so probably good to have another veteran in there. But now at the with as off the rails as the season has gone, it feels like we have way too much old depth weight between Bukestad and Joseph and even Walker. Walker hasn't looked great the last couple of games. I love the guy, would hate to see him gone, but I think those are probably the three guys in this forward group that are just going to be casualties of we got to start getting these young guys NHL experience. And Bukestad was the guy that had the highest value at this point. Certainly didn't hurt his case when he came back off the IR from out of nowhere and had back-to-back great games, scoring snipe goals, showed that he's still very much an NHL player. And I thought he was overall a positive impact over the last month since he came back. And kind of sucks to lose a competent NHLer at this point because the rest of this team feels like a shit show.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, right, it's a, somebody said in the chat, it's a financial move, right?
Yep.
Clear the cap space, and, he had value, and, we get a guy who can, if nothing more, hold places in the AHL while we, call up the Stenbergs and Matt Luffs and hopefully Theo Lindsteins of the world.
Yep. Yeah, and I
Alexandre Kaskamaki back here again.
Yep.
So
yeah, we'll see. And I'll say too, I mean, Bordelot is still young. I mean, drafted in 2020, 24 years old right now. Definitely a guy that could still turn out. I'm not saying he's going to be a prolific player, but could be a bottom six guy if you need him to, and especially in a pinch, a veteran guy you can call up. So I think a change of scenery type thing is what they're looking for here. And again, I don't think they're even planning on him really being an NHL player. I think maybe at best you're looking at a top six guy in the AHL. But again, another veteran guy, and like you said, can kind of hold place, because you want your young guys in Springfield, your Kaskamakis, your Lindsteins, the guys like that. But you also have to have, competent players around them. You can't just be like, well, who's bottom of the barrel? Who could we sign for league minimum? Go get that guy. You want to make sure you're surrounding these players with talent, so that way when they come up, they're more ready to play with NHL level talent. Not saying the Blues have that on the system right now, but hopefully they will in the next few years. Oh, it's rough this season. I have not been confident. We'll get into that. Injury updates. Robert Thomas undergoes a minor legs procedure. It would help if I could talk. Let's try this again.
A minor league leg procedure?
Injury updates. Robert Thomas undergoes a minor leg procedure, and Pius Suter did return to the lineup this week. I don't know. Did he have any points last night? I did not update my since returning on him.
Suter did not.
Okay, so in 2 games, he has an assist and averaging around 17, 18 minutes of ice time. Robert Thomas expected to return to the lineup following the Olympic break. This is a quote from head coach Jim Montgomery. He says, quote, I think that, the consensus was that in the end, if he gets this done, it would be the best thing long-term instead of trying to manage it. I think it was just becoming a nuisance to him. It's no fun every time you take stride that you have pain. I wonder how bad this is. If it's if they come back from the Olympic break and they're just like, hey, we're going to put you out there and, how are you feeling? Oh, I'm about 85%. Okay, go ahead and get back out there. I would say sit him as long as you possibly can. Make him get to 100%. I don't care if that's the rest of the season. At this point, it doesn't matter. You were talking about a possible Thomas trade earlier. Our friends over at the Last Minute Blues podcast have obviously been talking about the whole, what do you do with this team? What do you, do you make trades? And Jeremy Rutherford said this about Kyrou, and I think he kind of keyed in that it's the same with Thomas. He said you got about a 20% chance that either of those guys are traded in the next couple of years. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, you got no trade clauses involved. Don't want to say they're high salary. They're really not that high salary, but it's just, when they got so many years left, it becomes so much harder to move contracts like that. And I look at Robert Thomas and I just say, I'm only trading him if I am winning that deal. If it's like, let's say the Pittsburgh Penguins are like, hey, we will trade you our first round pick for the next 3 years because we want to win right now with Crosby and Malkin. We need all the talent we can get. Whoever it is, I would say, okay, that's where we start. Your first 3 picks your first round picks the next 3 years. We also want a roster player. Like for me, I am getting blown away with a deal to trade Robert Thomas. I'm not just trading him to trade him.
Yeah, 100%. You brought up their salary, both Thomas and Kyrou. The salary for the Blues fandom stings because it is what required us to say goodbye to Ryan O'Reilly, right?
Yep.
And other guys that we didn't have the money to sign them after we gave these guys who are younger, still unproven, but are best prospects in a generation, the money that they got, right? And this season, Kyrou has been abjectly terrible until the last 12 games. Yeah. Now he is back to the Jordan Kyrou that had he been here all year, we're not in this position. So, whether he can get back to this level after the break, I think will be something. I don't know. Like a team's got to be super desperate. And
one of us disappeared. I don't know if it was me or Bill. Here we go.
I don't know. So coming back from the break, if he can find that game, right, there's too short a window, I think, for other teams to be willing to throw what the Blues are going to ask for him. I don't think we see him move. JR's much closer to everything than us. That 20% probably seems right, from a lay person like us. So I'll believe that.
And we just see, and it's a lot of it is probably fans of other teams that we're seeing that, that are speculating that, the Blues are going to move Thomas. What do you give up to get Robert Thomas on your team? Again, he has a no trade clause. I think Thomas is happy to stay here. I honestly could see Jordan Kyrou possibly being like, yeah, I'll waive it in the right situation. And I think every player would. I mean, in the right situation, Robert Thomas, hey, you want to go in a Stanley Cup again with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl? Okay, that sounds good to me. My next contract's going to be a lot more money because of that. So, yeah, in the right situation, I think any player waives that no trade clause. But I look at Jordan Kyrou specifically, and it's been such touch and go with him. There's, like you said, early in this season, not putting up anything. Coming back from that injury in December, didn't have a goal for over a month after he got back. Just so many reasons why I think Jordan Kyrou would consider it. The whole booing fiasco years ago when Berube was fired. I just could see him being like, yeah, let's move on. Let me go somewhere else, see if I can contribute more. And then maybe my next contract, I'm making as much, if not more. I just don't see Robert Thomas being like that. And again, I'm nothing against Kyrou. I just think there's more of a maligned attitude with Kyrou and Blues fans. I don't think you really get that with Thomas.
Yeah, I would hope not. Thomas has definitely been, the the more favored son. Kyrie's definitely got some scar tissue at this point, with being the whipping boy for parts of different seasons at this point. But I don't know. Like, we'll get to the Dallas game, but you watch.
Do we have to?
Well, we do. We won't go into detail, but there were parts of that game, and Dallas hasn't been at the top of their game, but the fact that the Blues tied that game in the third period showed that they're not that far away from being a mediocre NHL team. They're, this season they're objectively terrible. But it doesn't feel like this still needs a full blow it up rebuild. Get rid of the spare parts. I think this is the season that you can make right. Sonny, it was nice having you back, but thanks for your service. You can be a special consultant to Steen if you want to be, but your time on the ice is done. Tyler Tucker, thanks for your service. Go back to the farm, whatever. I feel like you can subtract the parts that aren't going to be core going forward, but you can still have core with Thomas and Kyrou. But yeah. I also think, like, one of the other players that we're talking about, that's been bandied about in the trade rumors lately is Schenn, right? And I think that would be, I could see how it could make sense, but I think it would be a bad move because I don't think we have anybody ready to step in and fill that leadership void. And I think it would be a terrible move if they tried to force Robert Thomas into it. I don't think he's the leader. I don't think he should ever be a captain of this team. I think if there's a pecking order, Jake Neighbors has got to be there from the way he plays, but he's still too inconsistent.
Yeah, I agree.
And
he's faced a lot of injuries too. You need your captain in the lineup.
Right. And look at, we talked about it last week. Schenn has quietly put together a 300 game streak, right? Yep. He's there every night. Consistency has been a little bit of an issue until like halfway through the season. And now he's really been a presence every night. So I think it would be a terrible move to get rid of him. I think. Yeah,
we said it last week. I think if you move Schenn, I think it's again kind of like Thomas. I think you got to get blown away with an offer. Mm-hmm. It's got to be, we'll give you a first and a high prospect.
Right.
Okay, we got to take this deal. But for me, I'm keeping Schenn simply for his leadership. And I hate saying that because that was always the argument that people made when I'd say get rid of Barrett Jackman. And people would say, well, no, he's a locker room guy. And I'm just like, that's so overrated. And I still think it's overrated. But Braden Schenn, when you look at this roster, to me, he's the only real leader on this team right now. You got some young guys, like you said, Jake Neighbors. One day, maybe in 2-3 years, he'll be ready. I don't think he's ready now. I don't think Colton Parayko's a C guy. He's a good voice in the locker room, but I don't see him as a C. Falk is another guy I think could, but you're not going to have Falk within a year, I think, from now.
No, and I think out of all the guys that have been bandied about, and JR had a good article about it today, and quoted heavily Darren Dreger, as Darren Dreger usually is, talking about all of the players that other teams would want from the Blues, and definitely threw in Robbie Thomas into his list. So not surprised where that came from. But Falk, I think, is definitely, he's been tied rumors of him going to Detroit for a while.
Yeah.
I think that for Detroit, that makes a lot of sense. See what asset we can pull back from them. I don't think it'll be a stud player. I think we already, lucked out in pulling Bergeron out with the success we've had with him so far. But yeah, I just don't see don't see a real good business reason to want to move on from Shin. I think that sets us way back.
I agree. And we've got a couple people chiming in on the captain talk. I've been a Neighbors for Captain fan until last 20 games. Rob Gelb, I don't know if you're saying he should be captain right now. That would be something. Stenberg has been a captain at every level he's been at. Yeah, maybe one day, but I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I don't think you mean right now. I think he's a future person to look at for captain on this team. Light Sound Geometry says a leader would emerge. Someone will take over naturally. D Brown SS says Shen has led this team to where it is. I'm fine with moving him.
Oh no, sorry, but a leader would emerge. No, what would happen is Tyler Tucker would get a.
Oh gosh, why does this keep happening? Hey there, you're back.
Did you not hear my Tyler Tucker?
Tyler Tucker would
be
emerge
anointed captain by Jim Montgomery.
It'll be Eric Brewer all over again.
Yes.
Oh God, I hope not. That would be God. Would that not be? If I ever see an A on his chest, I will lose my mind. I don't care if it's preseason. That's just cannot happen. And then Ace asks in the chat, speaking of Berggren, you bringing him back next year? I mean, I've loved his play. There was a game a couple weeks ago where Montgomery said that he felt that he didn't bring it, and so he wanted to sit him for a game. I have never not seen Berggren bring it. Not saying that I know more than Montgomery. I'm going to trust his word on that. But for me, I've loved what we've seen from this kid. So, at this point, I definitely bring him back.
Yeah, and it's going to be Steen's team next year. And I think he's, not to say that he's just going to be like, oh, he's a Swede, I want him here. I think he's the type of player that, that we can expect from a Steen team, right? That it's going to be more about top end, or guys who can score and not necessarily just having depth for depth's sake.
Yep, I agree.
That's my hope for the Steen Blues.
One last thing on Thomas that I wanted to ask you about that I think is funny. Well, actually, two things. Talking about Thomas and Kyrou. Kyrou, it's funny looking back. Because remember a couple years ago, the conversation was, will Kyrou score 50 goals? Will he score 100 points? That seems like that's completely impossible nowadays, right? We'll never see more than 30 goals, I think, from Kyrou in many people's minds. And then the other one with Thomas, when the preliminary roster, the preliminary looks came out for Team Canada, and Robert Thomas is going to make this team, right? Oh, man, I look at that now, and I just kind of laugh that I was thinking he even had a chance. Right now, if he's on Team Canada, he's the guy everybody's pointing at saying, you picked him over this guy?
Right, you picked him over Bedard?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, they had to make the injury replacement for Sorelli today, and it was Seth Jarvis, right? And, obviously,
Sam Bennett.
Sam Bennett was yesterday. Today was, there was another one today. So Bennett was for
Reinhard?
No.
Who was he for?
Audience, help us out.
Yeah, help us out. I feel dumb.
Yeah. But today, Seth Jarvis got the call.
Bennett replaced Chiarelli.
Okay.
Jarvis was named today for Braden Point.
Braden Point. That was it.
That's right.
I knew it was a Lightning.
Yep.
So, anyway, while we're on that topic, last night, I don't know if you watched any of the Florida Boston game, but
a little bit. Saw the nasty hit.
Yeah, McAvoy goes down, and he's already had a broken jaw this year. And for 10 minutes, I'm like, yes, Lane Hudson's getting the call. He's gonna get the call. And then, amazingly, McAvoy is like, I am not missing this. I'm going to the fucking opening ceremony, boys. And he's back out there with the cage on. And
no, you know what would have happened?
Yeah.
It would not have been.
All
not have been Lane Hudson. It probably would have been Justin Falk.
Probably.
Because for some reason, Bill Guerin, I mean, Lane Hudson must have ran over Bill Guerin's dog at some point in his life. That's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The other theory I've heard is he's already got a small defenseman in Quinn Hughes, and that's good enough. Like he's not going to sacrifice that much size on the back end and put in.
I can see why Bill Guerin thinks that way.
Yeah.
Caveman. All right, let's talk about last night's game. The Blues dropped another one late to the Dallas Stars, 5-4. Jamie Benn scores his second of the game with 23 seconds remaining on the clock. So that is 3 games in a row that the Blues had a tie late with the Stars and lost the game. 107, 1 minute, and now 23 seconds. Thank God we do not have to play the Dallas Stars anymore this season because, good Lord, this is laughable. I mean, I'll admit, I'm not kidding when I say this. I'm not just using that as high probability that when that puck went in the net, I started laughing. Like I wasn't even mad anymore. I just laughed. And I'm like, yep, could have guessed that. I wish I would have put money on that because that's what was going to happen.
Right.
So, unbelievable.
Right. You could not that I'm a proponent of betting or really understand what a parlay is, but I think you could get a same shift parlay in on that Dallas would score a goal in the last 30 seconds, and it would be a Buchnevich missed coverage on a clean break-in by Miro Heiskanen. Right.
Yep.
Like how
not
do
only
you not
missed coverage,
cover that man?
Not only missed coverage, gliding, not pumping his legs at all, gliding back into the zone like the period had ended. And I'm not just picking on Buchnevich. That was all around bad by the Blues,
Jake
but
Neighbors
he was the noticeable one
there.
because that was his man coming in, and he just let him go. They did not even try to slow him up.
And Neighbors didn't say try to get him to notice that he's wide open. Yeah, it was just like complete blackout for the Blues defense. As they say in soccer, the Blues defense just switched off there for a moment.
Yep. And I think it was the third Stars goal, Maverick Bork's goal, I believe, where he was wide open down low and was able to pop in that rebound and nobody on him. The Blues coverage has been awful. I mean, I'm literally thinking back to 05-06, and I'm like, was the coverage this bad?
Right.
Because this has been some of the worst coverage I've seen from any Blues team.
Yeah, both of Ben's goals, he didn't have a Blue within 20 feet of him.
Yep.
And in high danger scoring areas. And in both occasions, it was Broberg and Parayko.
Yes, Parayko had an awful game.
He has had an awful 10-game stretch. He's finally scored his goal the other night in Nashville, but what fuck good did that do when you blow a fucking 4-goal lead for the second time in a season? They've been terrible, and I'll say just the 3 games against Dallas in a normal year, that puts any coach on the hot seat to blow 3 games in the last minute and a half against a division rival. That coach has got to be immediately on the hot seat after the second game, and all eyes are on him going into the third game. Can it repeat? And maybe it was the fact that it was a national broadcast, so didn't get a lot of attention until after it happened. But I'm thinking if we're listening to Vitali and Kerber call that on, well, I guess you could hear them on the radio. I would never choose to do that ever again. But you could, if you did they talk about it? Let us know if they talked about it. But God damn, that should be the end of Jim Montgomery as the Blues coach. But this isn't a normal year, and they're not going to They're not going to make a coaching change with, the second year of his tenure. But do you think, not to mention that Doug Armstrong and Steen have turned their attention to their international coaching duties now, or GM duties. So they're not caring all that much. But do you think Armstrong sends an email or something to Montgomery to be like, when I get back, you're going to show me what you're doing to fix this fucking defense? Because whatever you're doing, you're on your way out the door, buddy. This is not acceptable.
I 100% agree with that. And so I was making a comment last night to some of my guys, my friends, the listener Leon's in this group, and he actually disagreed with me that at this point, I want Stillman to fire Armstrong. And I know that is unheard of because he's got the succession plan in place. And I know one of my friends was saying, actually, our friend Jason, crappy goalie, was saying that, that's a bad look for Stillman, for future GMs, blah, 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 blah. I disagree. This roster is not performing. The coaching staff is not performing.
Mm-hmm.
To me, this is a performance issue. This is not, I'm firing this guy because I want to make a change. There has been nothing positive about this season. Nothing. And again, you mentioned last night, and of course the Nashville game, which we're going to not talk too in depth about because it'll just make me go into a tirade, that we're seeing. And it's not just the injuries. You can say all you want. Oh, injuries. I don't care. When you've got a 5-1 lead on any NHL team, you better win that game. When you have a lead against Dallas, you come back. Well, they come back and get a 4-2 lead. Then you come back and make it 4-4. You at least better get a point in that game. And you don't even get a point. So, and it's the third time that you're dropping this game very, very late. There's got to be a change. And for me, I'm with you. I don't think you fire Montgomery yet. But if I'm Stillman, I'm firing Armstrong, and I'm the one emailing Montgomery and saying, you saw what I did, you're next. Like, I'm not asking you to make the playoffs this year. I'm asking to see better effort, better systems, better opportunities for us to get wins. There is nothing positive about this team right now. And like I said, last night, it got to a point for me where I'm done getting mad. I'm done getting angry. I just laughed because I'm like, this is funny at this point, how bad this team is. The fact that we are spending about almost to the cap, like every other team in the NHL, and they're this bad. I don't know how the owner isn't ripping his hair out.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you my personal experience with the game last night was, given that the start got pushed back an hour, I had already made up my mind. I was not going past the second period, and I'd pick it up today. And when I woke up and saw what happened, it totally validated that, right? Because I would not have ever gone to sleep watching the Blues crawl back into that game only to lose it, right? I figured they were going to lose. I had accepted that they lost. But had I watched the game, my hope would have gotten up because that's the kind of fan I am, right? I'm going to have an emotional reaction to be like, oh, they're finally going to, break this curse. And then when it happens again, like, oh my God, I'm pissed off. I'm never going to sleep tonight. So totally validated my decision not to watch the third period. But
Go ahead. Also, real quick, I just want to clarify something I said earlier. I said it was Maverick Bork's goal where he was wide open down low. That was actually Matt Duchene's power play goal. Now, I will say Bennington did give up a pretty lofty rebound, but he was getting screened, I believe, by Ben in front of the net. And then it was Duchene who was down on the far board. So it was the one that was in the face-off in the defensive zone. And again, you are shorthanded, so I get there's going to be a guy kind of on the loose. But Cam Fowler just, again, glides, doesn't pump his feet. Face-off is lost. He glides to the middle with Justin Falk, who's covering the man in front of the net, and just leaves Matt Duchene wide open on the far boards. Of course, the rebound pops right to his stick, one times it in the net, and you see Cam Fowler just look and be like, kind of like, oh shit, that was my guy, and it's just, again, and for me, and this is why I say I would love to see an Armstrong firing at this point, is because that man has not even started his new contract yet, and he is an atrocity on the blue line. He has been awful this year, and I said it last week, and I stand by it. I hope this is just a blip in the radar for Fowler, because he has not had a season this bad at all. But it does just go to show, again, Doug Armstrong bringing a defenseman in a trade, right what the Blues needed, but then signing him way too early to a long extension. And it's just, you didn't need to do that yet. Let him play out at least half of the next season and see how he does. And he just went ahead and signed him to this ridiculous contract. And if this is the Cam Fowler we're getting the rest of this contract, this is going to be a Nick Leddy situation all over again. We get out of one, we get right back into the next.
Right. And it doesn't help that it's the magic 6.5 number all over again.
Exactly. And I'll say too, on the Maverick Bork goal, somebody said it above, and again, you guys have been awesome in the chat tonight. Sorry we haven't been able to get to you guys as much. But yeah, they Maverick Bork's goal was also on Broberg. But I'll say though, and again, I believe it was Parayko was on the ice too. Jason Robertson literally curls in front of the net, has probably a good 4 seconds to get a great shot off from the slot, decides to stick handle away because he's untouched. Jason Robertson can just do whatever he wants in the offensive zone, and then he whips it at the net, and Maverick Bork's right there to tap it in. And for me, it's just, you can't let a guy do that. You literally just let one of the best pure goal scorers in the NHL stick handle through 3 of your guys in front of the net, not even get a shot off because he chose not to, not because he was hindered, and then they score when he wraps back around and just whips the puck at the net. Just, again, the coverage on this team is awful. Just awful.
Right. I will, just real quick, I'll address the, Doug Armstrong being fired at this point. Since he's not going to be the GM and he's just going to be VP of hockey operations, I don't see it happening. And, the one argument for me that you could make is that why and when he'll be fired, maybe is the better way to put this, is if Steen comes in and the Blues are not any better, because the Blues are the only team that have now tried this succession plan. First they did it with the coaching staff, right? And it was Ken Hitchcock to Mike Yeo. And, we all know how that worked out. They had to fire Yeo, and luckily they had the right guy in Berube on the bench to take over, and, everything fell into place for the cup run. But that didn't work. So if the GM transition doesn't work, then it's time, right? But I also think that Tom Stillman is not a hockey business. Like he's a great businessman. Obviously, he's a billionaire, has run a beer distributorship and made a hell of a lot of money, but he doesn't have the kind of hockey knowledge to go out and hire somebody with the acumen that Doug Armstrong has, right? And I think it would put the Blues into a very precarious situation with, are we going to actually be able to bring in the right kind of minds to run the team? I don't see it happening, but it could if Steen winds up being a flop as GM.
Right.
And I'll say, sold this thing to me twice and it failed both times.
I would actually like to see, and I don't know, maybe I don't know if Armstrong is good friends with Chiarelli or what. I would like to see Chiarelli move on and the Blues possibly bring in somebody else that has a better acumen as a GM to help out Steen. I'll admit I don't know who that is right now, but I would like to see that just because I was never a believer in Chiarelli. I never understood that signing, and I still don't to this day. And so that way, for me, and I know Stillman or Armstrong may just be hiring his replacement if he does that, but I would like to see him get rid of Chiarelli and bring in somebody else who could help out Steen in the day-to-day stuff. But I don't know. I just feel like something needs to change. There is a losing culture within this organization right now. Obviously, that all changed in 2019, but that has all been out the window since. There's something going on with this roster and this coaching staff. I'll admit, Montgomery has completely fallen out of favor with me. He has made too many horrible decisions. We mentioned the Berggren just random sitting. We won a game, so let me change the entire lineup next game. That makes no sense to me. The constant playing of Tyler Tucker, the handling of the goaltending, the line shuffling. I put a lot of the loss in Nashville. I think you actually said the same thing on Jim Montgomery.
I put 100%.
Because they had one bad shift and he changed every line.
Right.
And I'm like, how do you expect your team to make any chemistry at all when you're just willy-nilly changing the lines up?
Right. And he did it because he wanted more defensive presence out there. And that blew up in his face in the biggest way, right?
Yep.
If you couple that into the losses with Dallas, all packed into this short stretch, in a regular season, any other coach is fucking gone, right? But he's going to be safe this year. I don't see us making a head coaching move. I think it's going to be roster tinkering, and maybe, somebody said it in the chat, purge the rest of the coaching staff, start over there.
Yeah,
right?
I would too. Well, that's the one thing I've never understood with Armstrong is it seems that he's always been the one to hire the assistant coaches. He's never let his head coach hire his coaches. And because, we've seen all the assistant coaches always stay through the next coach. And so for me, if you're really all in on Montgomery, and I'll say, I'm not saying fire Montgomery this year. There's been a lot going against him this year. He's fallen out of favor with me, but I don't want to see him fired just yet. But if you're going to be all in, which they clearly are with Montgomery, I'm with you. Fire the guys in place now and tell him, we want you to head getting us new assistant coaches. Who is out there that you want to see as your assistant coach? Who's going to run your system the way that you want to run it? To me, that's the way to go. I would lose Weber. I would lose, Babcock, right? Julian. The other guy, I'll say I'd like to see Alexander stay, but I would leave that up to Montgomery. I'd say, what do you want to do with the coaching staff? Let's see what you can do.
Yeah, I think, we had high hopes for Mike Weber coming in as a better alternative to Mike Van Ryn, and we've seen no improvement. Last year we did. After Fowler got here, they looked a hell of a lot better. Then this year, that's blown up in our face. I don't think he's the guy. I still can't figure out exactly what Claude Julien does here, other than look like another head coach there. And I don't know. Maybe that's a distraction for Montgomery, right? This guy's standing over my shoulder, waiting for me to get fired. And that's why he's here. I don't know. I still can't figure out what the hell he's doing here. But yeah,
I take that back. Apparently, Michael Babcock is no longer with the organization.
Right. No, I thought he was gone after last season. So.
Yeah, he's assistant coach for the San Diego Gulls. So I take that back. But still, I'd like to see them. If you're all in on a head coach, let him make the coaching decisions. Don't, we're going to keep Steve Ott and Mike Weber as your assistant coaches. I'd be like, no, what do you want to do, Jim? And maybe Montgomery said, I want to keep these guys. But my guess is that's not how that went down.
Right.
Because that's how it was through Hitchcock, through Yo, through Berube. Like, it was always the same assistants. And I just find that so odd that the GM is the guy hiring. I'm not saying he shouldn't have a say, but to me, you let Jim Montgomery lead that charge.
Right. I think the head coach has to have lieutenants that he picks and he trusts. And yeah, you got to get approval from the GM to do the hire, but it should start with that coach.
Yep.
Last on the management aspect thing, the point that I would make, if we're looking at bringing in a new assistant GM to help out, I would love to see them do something outside the box. Like, look what Carolina's done with a non-hockey guy running the entire show, right?
Yep.
Somebody who knows statistical modeling, somebody that knows heavy math, that can come up with, something that is more than just, we've been in the game so long, we understand everything. Bring in a new approach that, I don't know, maybe I'm just looking for any way to get Tyler Tucker off this team. That's a pretty fast way to do it. But no, I would love to see something like that.
Yeah,
at least in an assistant GM role.
The problem is 99% of the NHL is an old boys club. So it's hard to make that systematic change. So I'd love to see it too, but I just don't see it happening. It's not going to be an overnight thing for most teams. So maybe over time, but I don't know. We'll see. Real quick with the rest of this game, I do want to say Jimmy Snuggerud's goal was a thing of beauty, and his point streak has been fantastic. He's had a couple big games here and there. His point streak's now at 6 games. He's got 3 goals and 6 assists, I believe, in that time, and he has played great. That was just such a fun play to see him make, because I feel like that's something we're going to be seeing in his highlight reel a lot. Get it into the zone quick, bring it right to the middle, shove it down the defense's throat, and then fire a beautiful shot over a good goaltender, and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, I love that he read that entire play. Saw the high hoister, went, retrieved it, and just skated it in, and took 2 people out of the play. Great shot against the grain, which I really respect that play now. Really respect that play.
Why? What do you respect it now, Bill?
Just, reflection is why I respect that play.
I get it. And also
things happen in 2 seconds is all I could say.
Philip Broberg, also with a very nice play on the Toropchenko goal. Did not like his game overall in this game, I thought, but that pass he made to Toropchenko on the break-in for the game-tying goal, was a thing of beauty. Well, and they even said on the broadcast, did he even know he was there? And I'm like, he had to have. Broberg wouldn't just drop it in the slot like that. So,
well, maybe he would, because this team is playing pretty stupid hockey right now.
I don't, maybe, but to me, it's like he had to at least maybe Toropchenko said something, but the way that he just laid it there for Toropchenko to just fire that in the net was a thing of beauty.
Yeah, 100%. That was a beautiful goal.
All right, so other games this week, real quick, we'll roll through these. The last Blues win, which feels like eons ago. Blues beat the Panthers 5-4, swept the season series. Snuggerud had the game-winning goal with 9 seconds remaining, also a beauty goal by Jimmy Snuggerud. Jordan Kyrou goal and 2 assists. Buchnevich and Falk had 2 assists in that game. They ended a 5-game losing streak, so things were looking up at one point, and then they went crashing right back down. Kyrou and Neighbors and Sundqvist were all players that were not expected to play in the game. They were all game-time decisions, but they all played and all scored in the game. So that was huge. Nice to see. And we were talking about that last week. Will we see Kyrou, Neighbors, and Sundqvist in this game? We see them all, and they all have big games. So that was nice to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I could have sworn that we had covered the last Blues win in a previous show, but
nope.
Weeks are long these days.
Yes. And then on Saturday, I was at this game. Blue Jackets beat the Blues 5-3. Neighbors did not play because of an upper body injury. The Blue Jackets are on a season-high 5th straight win after that game. And I'll say this was, I think, an unfortunate game for the Blues. Not saying they played great, but they did run into a very good goalie, Jet Greaves.
The guys,
28 saves.
The guy doesn't lose to the Blues. Like
No, he literally has not lost to the Blues. He's 4-0.
Yeah, I should have picked him up in my fantasy league because my goaltending has once Shesterkin went down, I've been hit and miss. Although I did add John Gibson and he's paid off this week. But
very nice.
It's
15 saves in the third period for Jet Greaves. The Blues really did pour it on trying to get back in this game, and he played fantastic. So I don't want to completely knock the Blues all night tonight. Because I do think they at least deserved a point in that game, but Greaves was monumental in goal for the Blue Jackets.
Right. And if nothing else, like if we're not going to talk any more games, at least everything has been super close in 1-goal games here over the last little stretch, just not falling our way. But the collapse in Nashville, I think, is what's the thing that is going to be the indelible memory going into the Olympic break.
Yep, and unfortunately, that is the next one we will briefly discuss here because there's no point in talking about it because we know the Blues are terrible. No point in breaking it down. The Blues lose this one 6-5 after being up 5-1 at one point in this game. Steven Stamkos had the final 2 goals of the game. Ryan O'Reilly had 2 goals. Luke Evangelista with 3 assists, and Roman Josi had 4 assists. Pavel Buchnevich, 2 goals and an assist in this game. Jake Neighbors had a goal and 2 assists. Philip Broberg had a goal and an assist, and Jordan Kyrou, who we've talked about playing well lately, did have 3 assists in this game. Jimmy Snuggerud extended his point streak to 5 games at this point. So now he is only behind Beckett Seneke, who's with Anaheim. I'm saying that name correctly, right?
Yes,
Seneke?
Yeah, Beckett.
8 games is the stretch he had for a point streak, and then he has obviously now tied Matthew Schaefer of the New York Islanders, who has 6 games as well. So we'll see if when they come back from break, if he can get past the Matthew Schaefer 6 games. Obviously, the big thing in this one, dropping the 4-goal lead. This is the second time this has happened this season, and I will give some credit here to our friend of the show, Matthew DeFranks. Not sure if this was a crack staff that came up with this or if he did the research himself, but either way, he's the one that posted it. Teams lose multiple games in a season when leading by 4+ goals. 1971-72 California Golden Seals, 1983-84 Vancouver Canucks, and the 2025-26 St. Louis Blues. This has only happened 3 times because the Blues let this happen in October against Detroit when they had a 4-0 lead and lost that one 6-4. So it's happened twice to the Blues now this season. And to me, looking back at the problems we saw last season with this team, obviously, especially the Winnipeg series in Game 7, dropping that lead with just a second left on the clock, this has been a problem under Jim Montgomery. It has not gotten better clearly this season. And again, that is what you said, Bill. If I'm Doug Armstrong, I'm telling him, when I get back, the first thing I'm doing is calling you. We're going to have a meeting, and you're going to show me what you're doing to fix this problem. Because this is not only a momentum killer in terms of a couple games, to do this twice in a season, that is a full season killer.
Mm-hmm.
How do you mentally come back from doing this twice in a season? Unbelievable.
Yeah. So, and it was different goalies because it was, I believe it was Bennington in the Detroit game.
Yep.
And, Hofer, I didn't think he had a great game, but,
no,
the team was playing with, in high gear in front of him until the stupid fucking line change. And they had chased UC Saros and then Anunin, which that just, it's Annunen, right? You can't, Noonan just sounds stupid. Like, wait, Brian Noonan's kids played goal for them? What? He looked really good. That save that he made on Neighbors right away helped turn the tide in that game. But the goaltending, I think maybe we've seen the last goaltending switch after the Chicago thing where Hofer went and hid. If I want to hear at the end of the season, I want to find out if that was an agreement that they had and if it successfully stops Jim Montgomery from Mike Keenaning the goaltending this year. So,
yep.
But also the other thing I'd bring up is this happened on the heels of it happening the night before in the Stadium Series game, right? Yep. And that one had to be decided in a shootout, right? The Blues lost this game with more than 10 minutes to go in regulation after having a 4-goal lead. That is like, that they were making jokes when we were watching the Montreal game after the first period last night. They were making jokes about how Marty St. Louis was in the locker room kicking small trash cans and that sort of thing. It's Letterkenny. It's Coach from Letterkenny. You're going in there, you're kicking it. Fucking embarrassing, because that's exactly what that was.
Yep. And I'll say okay, if this wasn't what the Blues were known for excuse me, if this wasn't what the Blues were known for, this would not have bothered me as much. But this was the one where I threw in the towel on this team. I mean, I already kind of accepted they're not going to make the playoffs, but I thought this is where you trade everybody. You fire anybody. Mm-hmm. Anyone you can let go from this organization, you do it. Because to me, you let this happen twice in a season, riddled throughout, by the way, in between these two games with letting go of leads. I'd love to know what the Blues' record is when they have the third period, when they have a lead in the third period at all, like any lead. Maybe that's some research I'll try to do in the next week. But yeah, for me, it's like anytime you have a lead in the third period, I am not confident at all this team will complete the victory. Like, at all. I literally zero confidence that this team would do anything with a lead. So to me, this is where I said, okay, everyone's gone. You can trade Thomas, Kyrou, Falk. Again, I'd like to keep Shen, but if you can trade Shen and get something really good for him, if you can fire Montgomery right now and get away with it, like I was done with this entire organization after this game because this is so frustrating. You can't. I mean, again, if this is the first time that we've seen this happen under Montgomery, I'm like, that sucks, but it's fine. But the fact that this is what the Blues are known for, that is a serious issue.
Yeah. And I will say I had the same amount of rage as you, and I think it's to the point of irrational rage in that we're saying, get rid of guys that didn't even play in this game because they're injured, right? But it's
Robert
like
Thomas gone.
The feeling was the entire thing is rotten to the core, and get rid of it. And I still, I think this season, winning unlimited. If you're listening, earmuffs. Thank God the gold plan isn't in place. If it were, I would want them to come back and go for it. But get rid of whoever you can. Get some of the youngsters. I'm not saying like trade. We covered it a lot earlier. Not saying trade Thomas and Kyrou just to trade them. If you get a haul for them, do it. But get rid of the spare parts, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I love Matthew Joseph. I love his game, but he is not a Montgomery guy.
No.
Get rid of him, right? Don't have him on this roster just to have him on the roster, right? And do something with Tyler Tucker except play him every night. Just make
we
changes.
Still got to write that children's book, Bill. We still got to write the children's book. What was it? Let's go to the AHL, Tyler Tucker.
Yes. That's
happening.
Might be coming of the year. But
it's frustrating. But I will say that this break is coming at a very, very good time
for all of us.
For everyone. Everyone. Yes, we needed this. I'll say, if we still had a week left of Blues hockey, I might have told you, dude, I don't think I can do a show this week. Like I'm fed up. I'm so done. So yes, this comes at a very good time.
I agreed for this show because of the catharsis that it is bringing.
Yes. Real quick, I do want to mention, because we do have Olympics we want to talk about, and we talked about the Blues way more than I thought we would. But I do want to mention Steve Ott has improved the record with the Thunderbirds. He is 3-2-0-0 now. He was 1-1 in his first weekend. Last weekend, he was 2-1 as they played in 3 games. They got wins against Lehigh Valley 2-1 and Hartford 4-1, but then they lost to Bridgeport 4-0. So both losses have been shutouts, unfortunately, for him. But still, Steve Ott looks like he's starting to slowly turn the ship around for the Springfield Thunderbirds. So we'll see if he either stays down there next season or maybe gets consideration for a head coaching job somewhere in the NHL. But either way, good news to see these Thunderbirds getting a little bit of a coaching bump. So let's move in. Yeah, yay, Steve Ott. Real quick, we're talking about the Olympics coming up. So the first thing I do want to mention is we want to mention how we're going to be doing the show. We will be taking next week off. There will not be a Let's Go Blues Radio next week. And for as far as the Let's Go Blues Minute goes, we'll have maybe one show next week. I'm thinking Monday or Tuesday. But for us, it's kind of like we just said, we need a refresh. The both of us, it's been a rough season, and it's for us just a good time to kind of enjoy Olympic hockey and not have to worry about, putting together an outline and doing all the work we do the show. Believe it or not, there is work behind the scenes for Let's Go Blues Radio. So it'll be nice to take a little bit week off of that. And actually, I am actually heading out of town from Wednesday to Sunday next week. I'll be going to Georgetown, Colorado. So any of you who are near Georgetown, Bake Beaver, I'm not sure how close you are to that. I'm playing in a pond hockey tournament, which is going to be awesome. So looking forward to that. I'll be going with some of Bill and I's teammates from the Force, and I'll be gone Wednesday to Sunday. So anybody in the Colorado area, if you're anywhere near Georgetown, let me know. Love to meet up with you.
Yeah, that's I will have to see what I can do if that happens again next year. But yeah, this year just didn't have enough time to plan for it. And I would have to. It's a box pond hockey tournament, so there are no goaltenders. So I would have to.
That is my one issue with it.
Gear.
That is my one issue with it, but I will say I get it because they're not building a rink. It's literally a pond. So if you had goalies and people shooting, and you're going to be losing pucks left and right. So no boards. So you're not going to have, you can't have checking. So I get it. But yes, I'm with you. I would love if we could play like a real pond hockey with goaltenders. That would be awesome. But hey, 3-on-3 box, it's still going to be a good time.
Yeah.
All right.
I would be all for a pond hockey tournament where I could just go out and buy a set of old shit gear, because I'm not bringing my regular ice gear out there.
No,
be a ton of fun.
I still got my my old Milek, the giant streak pads. So if that ever happens, you're welcome to borrow those.
Yeah. I think I would probably go, like, I don't know if anybody follows what was it, the Cooper goalie. I haven't seen a lot of his stuff on Instagram lately, but really good follow. Has a million sets of gear in pretty much every NHL team except the Blues colors. Yeah, I'd love to do something like that for an outdoor tournament.
So there'll be Blues players in the Olympics. So real quick, Team Canada has Jordan Binnington and Colton Parayko. Team Sweden will have Philip Broberg. Team Slovakia, Dalibor Dvorsky. Team Switzerland will have Pius Suter. As far as these schedules go, you can find them over at Olympics.com. If you're looking for matchups between Blues players, I will give you those right now. Friday, February 13th, Canada and Switzerland will be facing off. You can watch that, and this is Central Daylight Time times at 2:10 p.m. And then as well as Team Sweden and Team Slovakia will be battling on Valentine's Day at 5:10 a.m. As I said on Let's Go Blues Minute today, I can't think of a better way to kick off Valentine's Day than a Sweden-Slovakia matchup at 5:10 a.m. Why not? But yes, the schedule is a little wonky just because it's over in Italy. But still, if the beauty of these early games, I'll say I remember this from, I think it was Torino, is when you get these kind of early morning games, it's kind of fun to like wake up a little earlier and just, be able to, like, maybe before work, catch a couple games and actually watch some hockey and then start your day. So it's an interesting way to go about it, but it's a fun, weird change in schedule for hockey fans.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the days that I'm working from home, being able to put some afternoon hockey on again. Little throwback to the pandemic. So yeah.
Yep. And also want to add that St. Louis and Nick Saracino, is that how you say his last name? Saracino. He's representing Team Italy on the ice. He's 33, born and raised in St. Louis. He's eligible to play for Italy because he holds dual citizenship in both Italy and the United States. He played for Providence College.
I did not know that until I just read that. That's pretty fucking amazing.
You were a little before him.
20 years.
Yeah, but still
18
very cool.
years. And I did play, anything but intramural hockey there. So no comparison.
He scored 46 goals and 70 assists for 116 points over 4 seasons, and they helped the program to a 2015 national championship. He's also competed at the AHL, USHL, and ICEHL levels. So congratulations to Nick. Don't know if we know anyone here or anyone of our listeners know Nick. I've met Nick before, very nice guy, and very excited for him. So that'll be really cool, I'm sure for him to be out on the ice battling against the likes of Colton Parayko and Jordan Binnington and all the other Blues players.
Yeah. A guy in my office plays in the Kirkwood game that he plays in. So
nice. I take it back. He is only going to be playing against Slovakia and Sweden. Doubtful he gets any games against Canada or Switzerland, but still, because he's in their pool. So very cool for Nick. Very happy for him. Are you a big Olympic hockey watcher, Bill? You pretty much try to catch all the games, right?
Yeah. When they're reasonable, the games in China and Pyeongchang, no. But yeah, when it's at a reasonable hour, I'm going to watch what I can. So I am definitely looking forward to it.
So the Blues will return to the ice in actually exactly 3 weeks' time. So their next game will be Thursday, February 26th against Seattle at 7 o'clock. And again, we want to go ahead and remind you before we get into our quick NHL rapid fire tidbits that we will not have a show next week, but we will have a show the following week. So that will be when the teams are kind of in the playoff rounds. So we'll be able to kind of recap everything we saw in the preliminary rounds, and then we'll get into the actual games that kind of more matter. So we'll see where Canada, the U.S., and where they're all shaping up. So we'll have a show then. So you're only going to miss us next week. So looking forward to having that discussion because I think both of us will be in much better spirits.
I would hope so by then.
Yep. So in the NHL rapid fire tidbits, let's talk about the second one real quick that I have here. Artemi Panarin was the big chip on the trade block. He was moved to the LA Kings, and he was signed to a 2-year, $22 million extension in exchange for prospect Liam Greentree, a conditional 3rd-round pick in 2026, and a conditional 4th-round pick in 2028. I saw a lot of people saying that the Kings didn't give up anything for him, and the Rangers should be ashamed of themselves. What's Chris Drury thinking? Artemi Panarin held all the cards in this trade. He has a no-trade clause and basically flat out said, I only want to go to L.A. I actually think Drury did a good job of getting a decent return for him. Greentree, from what I've seen, is not going to be an elite player, but a guy who is going to be a good middle 6 winger down the road, hopefully, for the Rangers. But obviously, the big news there is that Artemi Panarin comes back to the Western Conference. A little bit older, but still a very valuable player.
Right. The Kings, I think, did really well in this trade. Just that Kopitar will be off the books after this season, so having him sign that extension, not a huge deal for them. So I don't know the numbers off the top of the bat, but makes sense bringing in a guy like this. Just thinking about having a potential top line of Adrian Kempe with Kuzmenko and Panarin. That looks pretty high end. And LA's, their roster management hasn't been great over the last few years. So just think if they would have, instead of going after P.L. Dubois and giving up Iafallo and what's his name, the other guy in Winnipeg now.
You're killing me.
Yeah, I know, the guy on the top line that I'm blanking on. If they don't make that move and they're able to pull off this trade, the trade tree probably blocks it. But
Velarde.
Where would they be? They are in such great shape. Brent Clark looks like a gem on defense for them right now. Gavrikov, that was a coup of a trade when they made it, and now he's looking like shit in New York. So, maybe that was a stroke of genius for them. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's probably Panarin was probably not well liked in that locker room in New York. They've had a lot of problems in that room for the last couple of years. Time for him to move on, and the only big trade that's going to happen ahead of the deadline, because Drury's like, I'm done paying this guy, especially if I'm not going to play him. So
right, yep. Well, the other big news, and this is what we'll close the show on, Gavin McKenna, the projected #1 pick in the NHL draft coming up. He is facing a felony charge after an incident that occurred on January 31st. Potential of 20 years in prison. And from what I've seen, what's understood is it was an assault on somebody else inside this restaurant, bar grill, whatever.
Yeah, so it was. I have a little bit more inside information, not inside. But
I was gonna say, I think you have the same information I do.
Yeah, well, I have a source closer to it, because
you do.
I actually have family that works for Penn State, so they're very in tune with all the goings on. The story that I read this morning, was it the one you posted? Somebody posted a story this morning. It was
Onward State is the one that's really covering this.
Yeah,
which is they're the ones that cover Penn State.
Yeah. So it started at the party at the restaurant, and then apparently the inside stories are that this guy had been chirping McKenna the whole day. They'd come close a couple of times. He'd been talking shit about his mom. And then afterwards, they confronted each other outside of a parking garage, and McKenna 2-punch broke the guy's jaw. And so
apparently it had to be wired shut, is what I heard too.
Yeah.
Which is, awful, but at the same time, and I'll say, there are some people who are, if this story's true, which by all accounts I've heard it is, apparently a lot of people that were in the incident say, yeah, good for McKenna, kind of shutting this guy up. And again, allegedly, we don't have full inside information here. I want to say for sure that this is what happened, but from what I hear, I told a story recently to a couple friends when we were talking about this last night. There was one time where my mom's uncle, who was a real piece of shit, honestly, not just saying that because I didn't like the man. He was an awful human being. And there was one time when I was 18, he was saying some really mean things to my mom. And I stepped up and I had my fist clenched. And, I was a pretty big kid for 18. I was about the same height I am now, but I was in much better shape. And I told the guy that if he didn't leave, I was going to break his fucking nose. And my brother and my dad both had to grab me and pull me aside and say, you realize he's like 75, right? You would kill him if you punched him. And so I get it. You want to protect your family. And that's how I've always been with my mom, especially. Anything bad happens to her, I am the first person to defend her. And so for me, if this is all true, this guy was giving his mom trouble. Kudos to Kevin McKenna for stepping up and shutting this guy up. If this is all true, what we hear, I hope he's clear of these charges. I know he's probably going to get something, but hopefully this is not a situation where this kid has to serve jail time and he doesn't get to fulfill his NHL dream because of one idiot one night. Again, all allegedly, but just saying that if that's the case, I have no problem with what Gavin McKenna did.
Yeah, I think most of the hockey world would probably, say that this could potentially improve, his draft position had been sliding, right? I think in the Athletic article about it, they talked about how he was he had fallen to number 4 on North American skaters in their projections for the draft. So the two things that stood out to me in this whole thing are, how did the organizations that, have the capability of spin deal with the situation, right? And Penn State was, when I first saw the story last night, it was Wyshynski put it out on ESPN, and at that time posted that neither Penn State nor McKenna's representation had responded for comment. And Penn State, true to Penn State policy, said, this is an ongoing legal matter. We have no further comment, right? They're not going to get in the fray. And, according to my family, that is works for Penn State. That is very true to how they operate, and makes total sense for us, a university that large. But the part that I just don't get is how deafening the silence from his representation has been.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? That to me blows my mind that they are not out here selling this story, right? That, hey, he was the victim in this, and this guy pushed him beyond his breaking point. That the stories are, that they had come close several times and the team was able to de-escalate him, but this guy waited and baited him one more time, and it put him across the edge, right?
Yep. Which I get.
Right. And
I've been there.
Right. If I'm that guy's representation, that's the story that I'm like, yep, that's what happened. PR firm, run with it. But it's like crickets. Just I haven't seen anything tonight, right? I haven't seen if there's been anything further on it, but it to me, like, that was the part that just makes no sense to me. You've got the kid that broke the floodgate open for Canadian hockey transfers to the NCAA. The one guy that's got a 6-figure NIL deal as a hockey player, and the representation's not saying shit about him. I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah, I agree. I've expected somebody, whether it's his lawyer or even maybe his mom, to like put out a statement, or a teammate or something. And the fact that D Brown SS said story is out there, PR is letting it happen organically. Yeah, I mean, maybe the details are coming out because of McKenna's, like letting people kind of come to their own conclusions. But if that's the case, it's working because, like you said, the hockey community fully has his back. If that's the story.
Rewind this show another 4 minutes and listen to what we're saying, right? We are that, spreading it organically. We're part of that.
Yep. And I'm fine with that because, like I said, I've been in a situation before where, like you said, if guys baiting him and following him to his car, or saying, hey, meet me outside, I'm waiting for you. I've been in that situation, and it's like, I'm going to go kill that guy. And I literally have had to have friends hold me back and say, no, you're not going to jail over this. Obviously that was a long time ago when I was young and stupid, but at the same time, it's like, man, I get it. And if this story is true, that it's because this guy was harassing his mother, good for him, man. I'm all for family. We all talk about it here with hockey all the time, right? We're all so close to our families because of what we know they have to go through, taking us to early practices, and kids like McKenna, sending them off to college or juniors or whatever. And just the sacrifices these families make for hockey players. So for him to want to defend his mother, to me, that only speaks volumes of his character in a good way. But again, I mean, the other side of that too, Bill, is we haven't heard much from the guy who's pressing charges.
Yeah, well,
like we haven't heard anything from that side of it either. So,
the
who knows?
Story I read was that he couldn't really talk, and his friends had to tell the police what happened. So, but
at this point, though, he could write it down, right?
Right, and he apparently he was doing that too. So,
yeah.
The other side of this, right? Maybe the organic growing of the thing is the letting the crowd run with he talks shit about his mom thing. But think about it, if you're just a random asshole that's going to talk shit against a college athlete, right? McKenna would be he's had a frustrating year. Starts off as the consensus #1 overall pick in next year's draft, has not a great year college hockey wise, goes to World Juniors, doesn't win gold for Canada. I think the U.S. had a worse showing given it was on our soil, but Canada didn't win, lost to Sweden. And then this event came after back-to-back losses to Michigan State and outdoor games at Beaver Stadium, right? So the frustration is already super high with the guy. Probably not going to take a lot to put him over the edge.
Yep. Yeah, and I agree. Debron SS. Let's be honest, teens fight, offer to pay the kids' medical bills, make it right, and move on with all the crap players have been doing lately. This is more run-of-the-mill crap. Yes, Steve Brown, I agree, but at the same time, these kids, especially these kids that are going to be drafted, they have to be held to a higher standard, unfortunately. It's a public display. It's the whole role model situation. It's the image that hockey players are supposed to maintain. There's a lot more that goes into it than just teens fighting. I'd love to agree with you on that because, again, I know that's how I was when I was 18. But at the same time, you're much more in the public eye when you are going to be a top 5 draft pick in the NHL, possibly #1. So, of course, this is going to get the attention it's getting. You just have to hope that the story we're hearing is true. And if that is, even if he does get a somewhat stiff sentence, not jail time, but something else, people will still have his back. But if he gets any jail time at all, that is going to kill his draft stock. And that's the thing they have to realize. These kids have to realize that, that all goes with the territory.
Right. The fact that it's potential 20-year prison sentence, right, because of the felony nature of it being aggravated assault, that is got to be the scary part. And maybe his representation is, instead of worrying about the spin, is trying to figure out who he's going to get to represent the guy. And maybe that's the better play.
That's possible. Yeah. And I'll say, somebody said in the chat earlier, there's going to be video leaked sometime soon. Yes. You have to believe there will be.
Right. They said that it was captured on State College municipal cameras. So.
Yep. And so we will see that video. I'm sure TMZ is already getting their hands on it. So yeah, we'll be seeing that video at some point. But yeah, the thing that I'm worried about, because it was a 2-punch, right? If it's just a boom, boom, I'm not worried about that. If it's a boom, guy's down, he gets on top, punches again, that's a whole other situation. So I have to hope that's not what it is.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Stay tuned, folks. yeah, I think that'll do it for our show. Bill, anything to add?
No, I think we've covered it, and thank God we're not talking about the Blues at the end of the show, because
Yes.
I think our frustration with this team has definitely shown through through the show, and yeah, happy to be looking at a few weeks of not having to watch them and not
Yeah, I
having
mean,
to talk about them.
I was going to say the beauty is when we come back, and again, no show again next week, folks. But when we get back in 2 weeks to talk, we will just still be talking about Olympics. So it'll be nice to have a show where we don't even really have to talk about the Blues. So that'll be awesome. Looking forward to that. But yes, thank you everyone for tuning in. And again, we apologize for not being able to put out a show next week, but we promise we will come back in full force in 2 weeks. So stay tuned. And yes, hope you all enjoy the round robin of the Olympics as well as the other Olympics. Watch the rest of the Olympics too. Winter Olympics to me, or
watch
curling is fun, man. I love curling. I remember as a kid, I despised curling because it was so slow. But now I look at it and I'm like, you watched baseball. How is that any different?
Right.
It's a fun strategic sport.
Yeah. Watch when somebody can fucking like throw a perfect block, or, just, yeah, there are so many great tactical moves. And for these guys and gals that work, full-time jobs, aren't professional. They're professional curlers, but that doesn't pay the bills. For most of them, I love that story, and yeah, I will watch it every day. To me, like somebody said, well, would you be a fan of the Olympic bowling team? Probably not, because it doesn't involve the skill that ice brings into the equation, right? And absolutely love it. I will definitely be watching plenty of curling.
I'm
Definitely
a big
catch
snowboarding guy.
Yeah, that was on tonight.
Yep.
And yeah, that's gonna be fun too. And yeah, I think it'll be the news with Lindsey Vonn having a torn ACL and gonna race. It's gonna be that make or break. It's either going to be the greatest story or the saddest story. And
I commend her effort.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the last Olympics for her either way. I normally would say if you're injured, what the hell are you doing? But dude, I get it. Like, she's not coming back at, what would she be, 42 the next Olympics? Like, I get it. Coming back and wanting to do it. Good for her, man. I hope she absolutely kills it. We'll see.
Yeah, me too.
Yep. But no, I'm all for the Winter Olympics, and I'm looking forward to it. Ken Morris asks in the chat, when does Jeff's Pondcast start? That is to be determined. I'm still working on a couple different things to get things going. Working on getting some music for it, original music. Actually, got a local artist working on that, and I also have a couple guests I want to get lined up, which I already got one pretty big name that I'm pretty excited about. Bill, you know who that is.
Yes.
But I'm very excited about that one. So
any connection to the previous comment about music for the show? Maybe.
I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, very excited. So we will get back to you on that there, Ken. I'll keep you informed. But yeah, and as I decide when that opening episode will be, I'll be sure to comment on the show here, because it's my show. It's mine and Bill's show, so I can do whatever the hell I want. So I'm going to plug whatever I want to. All right, cool. Bill, I think that'll do it. Thanks to our incredible sponsor, StrikeWithMike.com. That wraps up episode 19 of season 15 of the original St. Louis Blues Hockey Podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio. Thanks for listening, and thanks to those who participated in the YouTube and Facebook live chats during the live show. Make sure to follow us on all of the socials. We are at LGB Radio. Like, follow, and subscribe to us everywhere, including YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. For Kurt Price and Bill Day, I'm Jeff Ponder, and this was Let's Go Blues Radio. Until next time, everyone, USA, go Canada. Let's go Blues.
Let's go international hockeys.
There you go. That's the way to say it. Let's go.
TV talking St. Louis blues hockey, moving fast, can't catch the beat. Skates on fire, ice